So you guys are team 2?
Yes.
Not 3? Yeah, my charge will see how the base
Well, we hope so.
I know, that's why I was
Yeah.
just
Too, right? You guys are first seven.
Yeah, I don't know why my charge is. Okay. You ready? Your video tape?
You're recording.
Yeah.
You recording?
It should be.
Yep.
Okay. So we are team 2, and my name is Cody Chi.
I'm Nicole Feckley. My name is Amanda Chapman.
And I'm Alex Courtney. So imagine New York City in 1895. This is where the elite survived and they roamed through the streets of New York City. Henry Bendel opened his first store in 1895. And this is where they prospered and thrived in the market. They were the luxury fashion choice in 1895, as it was on a main street, Fifth Avenue of New York City. However, in 2018, Henry Bendel is no longer the thriving and prosperous company that it once was. That's why, looking through the company analysis as well as doing an industry analysis, we found 4 recommendations that we believe can help Henry Bendel come back to the motto of feeling like a New Yorker. I invite Savannah up here for the industry analysis.
The accessory industry offers a variety of products, including but not limited to jewelry, watches, handbags, and luggage. The expected total sales revenue in this industry is $596 billion by the end of 2018. Some of the top competitors contributing to the sales revenue are companies like Coach, Kate Spade, and Michael Kors. Henry Bendel is relatively small in comparison to these competitors. For example, Henry Bendel's expected income is $23 million, whereas Michael Kors' expected income is $466 million. The reason these competitors have thrived in the industry is because they have recognized some of the driving factors. E-commerce is driving the industry because it's given consumers the ability to shop globally from their living room. And as e-commerce sales rise, retail stores decline. Economic growth is occurring in many countries throughout the world, which has caused markets to emerge. This has made it increasingly more important for companies in the industry to increase their global recognition. And lastly, millennials are also driving this industry. Millennials make up the largest percent of the population in majority of countries. For example, in the US, millennials make up 24% of the population. Utilizing these driving factors can help companies in the industry to gain competitive advantage. And now I'd like to invite Nicole up to talk about the company analysis.
Thank you. So starting with some of the company's financials, Henry Bendel had a projected revenue of $85 million for this year. However, their projected operating loss is $45 million. This is what caused them to close 4 stores from February to September of this year, and is also contributing to the decline of 55% in L Brand's stock value. The new marketing and technology trends that are being used in the industry have been affecting this decline, because Henry Bendel has not been taking advantage of them. They're currently marketing to 55-plus-year-olds. However, a Mintel survey of 2000 showed that the main purchasers in the accessory industry currently are women ages 18 to 35. This is about the millennial age range, so using the new technology that other companies are using, like AR and apps, could reach these millennials. Through the new technology and the changes in marketing tactics, we have come up with 4 recommendations that could help Henry Bendel for the future. So going into the first recommendation, it is going back to Henry Bendel's roots. So Henry Bendel opened 123 years ago and was the first self-branded retailer in the US. 33 of these years have been owned by L Brands management. Originally, Henry Bendel worked with influencers in pop culture like Coco Chanel and Andy Warhol. They were the first ones to introduce Coco Chanel, who I'm sure everyone has heard of, into her products into the US, and Andy Warhol was an in-house illustrator for Henry Bendel. Not having these influencers nowadays has affected the brand, as well as changes that L Brands has made to Henry Bendel, such as rebranding them and getting rid of their original brown and cream logo that carried heritage and many people knew of. We decided that to bring back this brand recognition and heritage from Henry Bendel, we would implement a new Andy Warhol bag collection. We chose Andy Warhol because of his influence on pop culture and to celebrate his past work with Henry Bendel. Currently, Andy Warhol has art in the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and we found that his paintings in auctions recently have gone for as much as $38 million for just one. So then to look at the costs for this project, we found that the average cost to produce for one bag is $80, and the cost to design and implement a single design for the bag is about $1,000. We then decided that we would only release 100 of these brands to bring back the exclusivity that Henry Bendel used to be in the past. Then to decide the price, we looked at competitors such as Michael Kors, Kate Spade, and Coach, and decided a midline price would be about $400, which is in between these companies' bag prices. With these $400 per bag and 100 bags being released, this would result in sales of $40,000 for this new collection, and that would give this project a profit margin of 77.31%. So this project would bring back that heritage and the brand recognition of Henry Bendel and what it used to be. The brand recognition could also be spread through expanding to international markets, which Cody will now talk about.
So our second recommendation for Henry Bendel is that they should sell their company to a market international. So what makes Henry Bendel appealing? First, Henry Bendel is a United States-based company that operates 23 stores within the US. This can be attractive for any company internationally that are trying to grow into the US. Second, we have the United States market. The United States is ranked second in top countries worldwide, and their expected revenue in 2018 is $13 billion. So with this, we decided that Henry Bendel should focus primarily in China, because China is the leading seller in this industry, in this bag and accessory industry, with their revenue expected to be $37 billion in 2018. So how can Henry Bendel benefit from this? With companies in China expanding to US to gain presence, Henry Bendel can also open new stores in China. And one of our examples of a United States-based company that is succeeding internationally is Tapestry. So as you can see in this graph, 41% of their sale in 2018 is coming from international operations. And of that 41%, China is still leading the sales for this market, outside of the US, of course. So with this example, this can be a model for Henry Bendel to succeed internationally. And our next step for Henry Bendel is the time. Because the company is struggling and is on a downward trend, they need to sell their company quickly before they lose their appeal to companies in China. So next, Savannah will talk to you about our next recommendation.
Henry Bendel has the opportunity to gain back their competitive advantage, increase their sales, and increase their marketability to a potential buyer company by investing in an augmented reality application. This technology would allow consumers to pair available Henry Bendel accessories with outfits from their wardrobe. 60% of consumers feel that augmented reality improves their shopping experience, which is why many companies have taken advantage of augmented reality. For example, in 2017, IKEA implemented the use of augmented reality within their app, which allowed shoppers to view furniture in their desired destination with a 98% accuracy. IKEA anticipates that this will have a positive effect on their online sales, and expect that they will increase their sales by $4 billion over a 4-year period from 2016 to 2020. Augmented reality would be a good investment for Henry Bendel, and it would cost approximately $170,000. They would outsource the development of this technology over a six-stage process. And after implementing this, their sales will increase and they will be able to have a better customer experience within their app. And now I'd like to invite Alex up to talk about development of the app.
So our final recommendation is the creation of a mobile application. So with advancements in technology, mobile phone usage has also increased. So in 2016, the average American spent about 3 hours a day on their mobile phone. And what's surprising about this number is that 90% of that time was actually spent using a mobile application. So we created a project timeframe of 8 weeks to develop the app and implement it. 4 weeks of that would be creating the app as well as designing it, and then the next 2 weeks would then be using focus groups and beta testers to make sure that it fit our consumers' preferences as well as functioned properly. The 2 weeks after that would then be used to create any minor bug fixes as well as accommodate those preferences that were found in the focus groups. We would hire a creative director, 4 app developers, and 4 software developers for this project. That would cost us around $113,000 by looking at their salaries and the weekly pay for that 8 weeks. After the project was over, we would keep 2 app developers, 2 software developers, and our creative director. So then annually we can make bug fixes as well as keep updating our app to fit the consumer preferences as the trends may change. That would cost about $400,000 annually and is quite small in regards to how much profit the Henry Bendel could make every year from the increase of the mobile app usage. And so in conclusion, our recommendations were going back to Henry Bendel's roots, selling to an international company, applying augmented reality, and the creation of a mobile application. We believe that these recommendations would increase our sales for Henry Bendel, as well as the brand recognition would increase, so we can go back to the prosperous Henry Bendel that was of 1895. And now I want to invite the rest of my group up for some questions.
I can start. Your last recommendation, the mobile application, I know, what kind of features would be on the app? Like, would you be able to like look at all the products and order the products?
Yeah, so our main functionality for it would be the e-commerce, so the online website. So you can see all the products. But we also were thinking if we also use the recommendation of applying the augmented reality, that you could actually put that as well. And so when you look at the products, so say a handbag, you can actually view the handbag, say in real time and with like a certain outfit maybe. And so then you can kind of use those two. And also you can create like your own profile. And so you can keep track of your orders and where they are in the shipping process and stuff like that.
Okay.
So talking about selling to an international company, you said China was the leader in the world for handbags or
Bags and accessories.
so with them being that, do you think the market for China is too saturated to bring in another company, or is there room for Bendel to like find growth?
So we noticed that looking into China's company for bags and accessories, there wasn't a lot of them. There was very little. And with that being said, this can be a great way for Henry Bendel to thrive in this international market. And we researched a little bit on some of the recommendations for Henry Bendel, and we saw that Bagsir can be a great company for Henry Bendel to look into because their market is primarily based in China with no presence internationally or little.
So when we were also researching the way their profits are coming from are actually like wholesale versions of American brands. So like Michael Kors, Kate Spade, and Coach. And so maybe introducing Henry Bendel to this company and where they can actually get the actual Henry Bendel product could be beneficial, as it is just mostly coming from US-based companies.
So as far as the augmented reality, I saw how long it would take to develop. When do you guys plan on implementing this new technology?
We recommend to Henry Bendel that they implement the app immediately because they have announced that they plan to shut down their stores in January of 2019. By implementing this immediately, it will help to increase their marketability for when they decide to market to other companies.
Okay, one more. For going back to their roots and like the special collection bags, like why'd you pick 100? Like, do you think you're limiting yourself at all by picking like such a relatively small number?
So with their sales decreasing recently, the number cannot be too big, and having this designer's collection, Andy Warhol, will also be, like I said, it'll give it back that exclusive feel that Henry Bendel used to have in the past. And usually when you drop limited items like this, they sell quickly, and if we made too many, we don't want it to not all be sold or not be a success, so that's why we chose 100.
When we were researching, we found a site that actually stated that Henry Bendel has over 300 different bags on their website currently, and that many people find that overwhelming because of how many different options there are, whereas the exclusivity of having this certain bag would be like you would own one of a kind, whereas the 300 brands kind of dilute the specialty of Henry Bendel bags.
Let me ask a question related to that. So are there any licensing issues with Warhol's estate in terms of using his name, his image, his artwork for these specialty bags?
So we didn't find any information on like costs or anything, but there would be some. We'd have to work for a trademark and with the family of the Warhols, so we would be able to use the designs. As she said earlier, there's a lot in the Modern Art Museum, and so maybe looking into that and how they got their trademarks and maybe partnering with them as well, we could find out a way that we could implement those designs.
How'd you come up with the time frame for developing the app?
So I was just looking into other apps and how they implemented theirs, and like we said, we do want to get it out as soon as possible because Henry Bendel, they don't have an app currently. I forgot to say that in the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
They have a credit card app, so all you can do is pay your bill and actually look at your bill. And so having the app where you can actually shop would be beneficial so they can see all the products. And so implementing that as soon as possible, they can have it at their fingertips and you can send notifications. So we thought 2 months would be pretty quickly and also before Christmas time.
Right. What kind of, when you looked at those comparables of what their time frame was, what kind of apps were they looked at?
So I looked at, Michael Kors, they did, I think, if I remember correctly, it was about 10 weeks to get theirs out when they first decided to open theirs. I'm not sure, that was like the only one that I really looked at, so.
I wanted to mention something that I thought was particularly effective. Right early on, it was helpful to me for you to put Henry Bendel into some sort of context or perspective, like Michael Kors. You know, you can rattle off, well, this is 30 billion and this is 27 billion, this is whatever. But when you sort of say, here's one versus the main competitor that you may be more aware of, and by the way, it's like 30 and 467 or whatever it was, that sort of really sets the tone. So that sort of comparison, you know, more of a competitive comparison maybe than here's where we are versus the industry. Those are kind of more abstract and what that mean. But anyways, I thought that was good. I appreciate your attempts to do to put some dollars to the recommendations. I don't know that was required, but I thought it showed, you know, pretty good initiative to at least try to put them into some sort of context again. And then one thing, I wasn't sure about the recommendation number 3 and recommendation number 4. They sort of felt like one recommendation to me. I thought they might have been a little clearer because you talked about applying augmented reality, but frankly, you didn't give a whole lot of details about how you were going to do that. And then you talked about creation of a mobile app, but somebody had to question what would the mobile app do. So I was thinking maybe if you collapse that into one and you know, kind of expanded it out a little bit, it might have felt like a easier recommendation.
So we did,
Just an idea.
we did expand on the augmented reality. So we do have a resource that states every stage of it.
Mhm.
Due to time constraints, we just had it like.
Oh, yeah, and I'm not talking about stages or
Yeah.
even costs or anything. It's more like what would it do for this
Okay,
brand?
gotcha.
What is the value to the target audience? Why do
Mhm.
people find this interesting? Or if the answer is they're the only one that don't have it, Coors and Kate Spade and everybody else has it, they're like, you know, the end of the line, then make that point. But it's less about, to me anyway, it's less about the specs of the thing and more about why is it a good idea and why would the target audience be interested.
Thank you. Go to one of your slides with the cost on it.
Just one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, like this one. So I think, you know, what I would say is, you know, kind of round up. You're trying to kind of say it's gonna cost about $115,000 to invest. And then I think for the impact statement, it's what's gonna happen to revenue. So like in your first recommendation, you know, you're gonna have $40,000 of sales. 77% as a profit margin is really good. $40,000 in revenue, when they've got a, what, $85 million loss, isn't really putting a dent on that. Do you know what I mean? So part of me, I was struggling with that, the recommendation. I think, you know, it was a little short-sighted in how you were presenting it, in the sense that it's a smaller thing, it's especially bad, but the lift you're gonna get is gonna be much bigger. And I think similar on these, that lift was hard to get to. So I think that impact piece that, you know, Professor Crowder was talking about would be important. And then I just, for both groups, you know, just when you start doing costs, especially for P2, you know, get rid of the cents.
Okay.
And frankly, you know, at this point, it's 18,000, it's 43,000, it's 52,000. You know, it would be a reasonable conversation to have, you know, at this level. Your detail could be below and kind of where you got all that stuff and your appendices and so forth, but just round up in the purpose of conversation. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, I know that you guys aren't necessarily used to looking at it that way, and you're concerned with accuracy and that you found the, you know, the right number and all that. But that has to be balanced with, as we're sitting here in the audience, we just kind of want to know about how much is that going to cost, and then clients would be the same way. So it's like you're presenting more detail than you really need to, and you just use these rounded numbers, like Professor Roberts said, and we still get essentially the same idea. We don't have it down to the penny, but we don't need it that way. So, yeah, 18, 43, and 52 would be close enough. Moving into P2, that's